Well, we're going to get started slowly here. The clock over here says 5 till, but this one is 7, and so I know people online have probably already logged in, so we'll let some folks get in the door here. We've got a lot of announcements tonight, so I'll go ahead and kick it off. Good evening, I'm Mark Broman. I'm the Executive Director of Wachiska Audubon, and we're the independent chapter of National Audubon with geographical area covering 17 counties in southeast Nebraska, and you can follow us on our website and our Facebook page. We've begun our annual Birdathon and Give to Lincoln Day events for the month of May. We sent a letter out and had an article in the May Babbling Brook. And to be eligible for matching funds from the Give to Lincoln Day, the checks must be made out to the Lincoln Community Foundation with Wachiska in the memo line. That way they know where it goes. And we need to have those checks in our office or delivered to the Lincoln Community Foundation office before May 30th. And this year looks like the matching funds, they always get funds from other companies to put in. It looks like the matching is going to be about 9%. So for every dollar we get put in, we'll get 9 cents. So that's a pretty good deal. In past years, it's been as low as 5%. Usually it's around 7, sometimes 8, but it's 9% this year. I think they said this is the largest percent they've had in years. Birdathon checks can be made out to either Wachiska or Lincoln Community Foundation, but to be eligible for the matching funds and to turn in under the Give to Lincoln Day, they need to be made out to the Lincoln Community Foundation. So we've been getting checks for both. Yeah, Mark?
They also let you do it directly online where you designate?
Yes, you can go online to the Lincoln Community Foundation, and especially if you have an account there already, you can transfer, or you can send checks to them directly, or do a credit card.
And you can search for Wachiska in their menu to find it?
Yep, you can search Wachiska, or you can put in environmental, and it'll pull up the different environmental groups, but if you put Wachiska in, it'll pull it up on the website. Yep, thanks for reminding us. There will be a Birdathon field trip planned for this Saturday, May 11th, at 8 o'clock at Wilderness Park, and then again on Sunday, May 12th at 8 a.m. at Platte River State Park. So if you're interested in either one of those, need information, get a hold of the office. Tomorrow we can get you more information. There's an article in the Babbling Brook on both field trips, so you look in the last month's Babbling Brook for information there. We've got some of the Vote for Climate in Mind out here. It's voting season, so if you want to pick up one of those tonight, they're $10. We've got them out at the counter out here, out the front desk. We've also got some more back at the office, so if a neighbor says, hey, I like that, where'd you get it? Send them our way. We've got, I think, 20 in the office left, so we can set them up. We had a very successful booth at Return of the Thunderbirds out at the Indian Center. There were over 500 people there. And then we had a number of people at the Lincoln Earth Day at Innovation Campus, so we had a lot of folks stop by the booth and inquire about what we did, and we had a lot of kids. We had some kid activities, and they really enjoyed it. And then Tim Knott had a booth at the 6 Lower Platte South NRD Nature Nights. So Tim was kept busy this last month. He was all over Lincoln and even out at Eagle and a couple other places around here. So he was kept busy with those elementary school nights. I helped with one of them. Last year I helped with several, but this year I was busy, had conflicts, unfortunately. And then we'll have a booth this Saturday for Arbor Day. That celebration is going to be in Antelope Park, right by the Alt Pavilion, so that's just south of the zoo, from 11 to 2. There'll be a lot of booths out there. Anyone that would like to help out, we could use an extra body, especially to set up, because I'll talk in a minute about another event coming up on Saturday that I'll be at, but we need to set up the tents and get ready. So if someone would like to help me come over about 9:30 and set up and maybe run the first hour, that'd be great. So you can just talk to me afterwards. The original event was April 28th, but it got rained out, so it was closer to Arbor Day, and they had to move it to this Saturday. So that's going to be Antelope Park from 11 to 2. There should be a lot of good stuff, and I think they're going to be giving away some free trees. So if you need a tree or two for your house or your acreage, be sure and stop by.
What day is that, Mark?
That's this Saturday. Yep. And then we've got the birding trip, unfortunately, to Fontenelle Forest on Saturday was canceled, but there is another event on Saturday besides the Birdathon trip, and that is the Chimney Swift Tower dedication this Saturday at Hardin Hall. It's going to be at 11 a.m., and that Hardin Hall is at 33rd and Holdridge. And then a new tower is going to be dedicated to Mary Baumberger Brown. I think a lot of you might have known Mary. She was a member here and worked out at Spring Creek and worked with cliff swallows out at Cedar Point. I met her back in the early 80s with her husband Charles Brown at the time. And they had the longest operating bird project in North America at that time, and it's still going on. So that's when I first met Mary, but unfortunately we lost her a number of years back. But it's going to be dedicated to her. They're going to have a couple speakers in Hardin Hall before they move out to the site, which is just north of there, including Mike Forsberg, and there'll be refreshments and treats. And there's free parking on the north side of Hardin Hall. So if you come over there at 33rd and Holdridge, it's right on the corner, just park on the north side in that big parking lot, and there's free parking there. The university's always tough to find parking, so at least you know you've got a place. And if you want to see Mike, I saw Mike a couple days ago at a conference, and he said that he was getting excited about getting that chimney swift tower put up over there, hoping to get some birds in the next few years to use it. I don't see Teresa here tonight. I don't know if she's over here. She comes now. I'll put off for a minute before I'll bring Teresa up in a couple minutes. We'll go ahead and do the bird sighting, see if anybody has any bird sightings before I have Teresa come up. I was sent a video of a Cooper's hawk hunting over at Aldersgate Garden. So if you're over at Aldersgate Garden, you might get lucky and get to see it. It was a nice video. It landed, caught a bird, and was feeding on it. And so it was a really nice video. It took me a while to figure out whether it was a Cooper's or a Sharpshin. Before the meeting started tonight, we were having the discussion with the audience about how you tell the difference, but it's kind of tough. And then another interesting thing is Ann Burkholder, who the famous painter from down in the Burkholder Project in the Haymarket, has a mallard duck hen setting on eggs in her planter box out in front of her store, in front of her studio. She saw a couple eggs there one day and thought, well, those are kind of strange. They were kind of large. And then all of a sudden there was a duck the next day, and she took a picture and posted it on Facebook, and I confirmed it definitely is. She thought maybe it was a wood duck, and some other people did too, until she got a picture of it, and it's definitely a female mallard. So now she's got to wait till they hatch and then try to find someone that will capture the mother and the little ones and take them out to Oak Lake or Capitol Beach, because it's quite a ways to water in the Haymarket. You got to go out into the rail yard, and then there's just some puddles. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So did we have some other bird alerts? Linda, what do you have?
Yeah, I had a fun experience this morning. I was in my house, and all at once I could hear the blue jays, and they were so loud. And I've learned from experience that if the blue jays are making that much noise, there's got to either be an owl or a hawk. So I went to look, and they were mobbing a Cooper's hawk that was in my spruce tree just off my front porch. And I got a good look at its tail. I know
So
it
you
was
knew
the
it was a
rounded
Cooper's.
tail of the
Okay.
Coopers.
Yeah,
Yes.
the Sharpshin is the more squared, so
Yes.
that's one of the ways to tell. Yep. Well, good. Anybody else see anything interesting? Yes, Tim. Or, I mean,
Several
Ken.
days ago, I had 2 red-headed woodpeckers in my yard. First time I've ever had a red-headed woodpecker.
Okay.
They're kind of rare these days, you know. And there was some mating behavior going on there, but they did leave.
Okay.
They didn't stay, which they would have.
So red-headed woodpeckers.
Huh?
They were the red-headed?
Red-headed woodpecker.
With
Yeah.
the black body.
Yeah, right. And the light in the wings.
Ethan Fries, one of our board members, told me he had one in his backyard the other day. It's the first time he had seen one in a long time, too. So we've got a couple coming through.
Yeah, they're rare in the United States these days.
Okay.
In Canada, they're rare too, I guess.
They're more out in the country, I noticed.
Yeah, more in the country, yeah, right.
Okay. Anybody else have something? Bruce?
We had a Swainson's thrush in our backyard this week. That was pretty cool. And we usually get the turkey vultures at dusk.
Yeah, the turkey vultures have moved in.
But I had a great afternoon at Marsh Wren. I saw a red-headed woodpecker as well. Eastern and western kingbirds in the same bush.
Okay, eastern and western kingbirds. I'll re-announce on this speaker for those at home at Marsh Wren and a redhead woodpecker.
House wren, yellow legs aplenty, and boy, if you want to see Wilson's phalaropes, that is happening now.
Okay, lots of Wilson phalaropes out at Marsh Wren. So
Brown thrasher, turkey vulture.
brown thrasher, turkey vulture, yellow legs,
Northern rough-winged.
northern rough wings, sparrows,
Meadowlarks.
meadowlarks.
It was a bonanza.
Okay, so it sounds like that was a happening place for a birder. So Marsh Wren, it's not that far out there, folks. So
It was out there for 4 hours, and I saw a skunk.
and a skunk.
I got good pictures of him.
Okay, good. Okay. Anybody else have anything? Yes, Lana.
2 flickers.
Two flickers
They're rat-a-tat-tatting on my gutters again.
on your gutters?
They keep coming almost every morning.
Yeah,
And a bumblebee, does that count?
and a bumblebee. When they beat on things that are metal like that, it's usually kind of marking their territory or letting people know they're there. Some people will figure out why are they banging on something that's metal. They're not going to get any food out of it, but usually it's
Noisy.
it's to let people know they're there. Anybody else? Oh, Linda.
I just am remembering I've had a rose-breasted grosbeak 3 different days.
Okay.
And Harris sparrows were there up through last Saturday, almost daily, 2 of them.
Have you had any Orioles yet? I've seen a couple
the
Orioles on.
Orioles are working on
Facebook.
my hummingbird feeders.
Okay.
I twirl the little perch so that
Yeah.
there's room for the Oriole to sit on the perch and then lean over to drink out of the port. and the hummingbirds come to the ports. They don't care about those footrests that much.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll have Teresa come up this time, but in the meantime, I'm also going to mention an action alert that I got today from National Audubon and also from Crystal Stoner that they've got on the proposed water diversion from Platte River water into the Republican River. They've got comments are due to the DNR before May 16th, and there will be a public hearing at 8:30 on Thursday, May 23rd at the Bertrand Community Building. So it's a ways out to Bertrand if you want to go to the hearing, but you can submit written comments by the 16th. So if anyone's interested, let me know and I'll get you that information. So that's comments to the Department of Natural Resources. And with that, I'll have Teresa come up. She'll probably tell us about the tour of the wild side and in the board meeting coming up. So Teresa Pella, our current president.
Thank you, Mark. Sorry I was late. I'd like to blame it on Chuck and Barb because I saw them at the library, but they made it here in time and I didn't, so can't do that one. So the normal board meeting, our monthly board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, May 21st at 7 p.m. Zoom. So if you're interested in sitting in on that, let Mark or myself know, or Arliss, and can get you the Zoom link. Tour of the Wild Side, June 22nd, Saturday, June 22nd, 10 to 2. We have 7 sites, confirmed sites. I think there are going to be some really cool, interesting different types, a lot of different types of landscapes. So I think people will get a chance to really see some different ways that landowners are approaching native plants. And we have so far 9 sponsors, Wild Bird Habitat Store, Great Plains Nursery, Midwest Natives Nursery, Schrader Landscape Design Company, Runza, U-Stop, Union Bank and Trust, and LES Pollinator Program, and I think we have another one. Yeah. Campbell's. So great, a lot of support from our sponsors. And so the tour is free. Come out. It's a self-guided tour. The maps and descriptions will be in the Babbling Brook, the June Babbling Brook. So that one is underway. The other thing I wanted to give heads up about is the board has entered into an agreement with Heartland Development Center, a not-for-profit organization here in Lincoln that helps not-for-profits go through a strategic planning exercise. I think we've said a few times we're in the last year of our current 5-year plan, so now's the time when we're going to sit down and figure out, with the help of all of you and everybody out in cyberspace and beyond, help us figure out what does the next 5 years for Wachiska look like? What can it look like? What should it look like? And how do we get there? So just a heads up on that, at some point in time there will be a survey coming out to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. And also, besides for those that are coming out, you can enter for drawings that we're going to have at the tours. And so we've got a Michael Forsberg picture. We've got a Talmy book. We've got a tour out at Betsy's facility at the Raptor Recovery Center. We've got Mercy, one of our board members, is going to go out on a monarch tagging project and let people come along with her. So we got some nice prizes. Tim, you got something?
Yeah, you may have mentioned this, but you got the traditional bird-a-thon hikes this weekend.
Yep, I announced the times for the bird-a-thon, yep, out at the Pioneer Park, and then the one at Platte River State Park, yep, coming up. So if you need more details, call the office or Tim. Tim's overseeing those.
If you can hike on your own, I'd sure like to have somebody go out to Marsh Wren or any of the other good birding spots and turn in their list of birds.
Yeah, it sounds like we need to send Bruce out there. He had that great list from the other day, so it sounds like we need to recruit him to go out to Marsh Wren for the bird count. But yeah, if anyone can get out to Marsh Wren and get your list to Tim or Ken, either one with your list or into the office, that'd be great as part of that. So, okay. Any other announcements anyone can think of? But anyway, we've got some neat prizes in those drawings, so be ready for that. Quick reminder, tonight's presentation and past presentations are available on YouTube, so if you missed one or want to see one again, they're there. And with that, tonight it's my pleasure to introduce tonight's speaker, Cody Dreyer. Cody is a pollinator ecologist at the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission. Cody grew up in Humboldt, has a bachelor's degree from UNK and a master's degree from University of Nebraska at Lincoln. He enjoys spending time with his wife and 3 children and playing board games with friends. Tonight, Cody will talk about Nebraska's pollinator community science projects, and then you'll take questions afterwards. So Cody, we'll turn it over to you.
right, we'll do a mic check. I think we're good. Hi, everybody. My name's Cody Dreyer. That was a nice little introduction. And I'm here tonight to talk to you about some community science opportunities that we have for you from Game and Parks and other organizations. Can I get a click, please?
Yes.
There we go. The first one I want to talk to you about is kind of my primary duty at Game and Parks. It is the Monarch and Regal Fritillary Survey. Do I have any volunteers here besides Teresa? I've done a lot of online trainings for these, so there's some volunteers that I've never actually seen in person, so you might have been hiding in the crowd and I just wouldn't know it. So this is my primary duty at Nebraska Game and Parks. We're going to get into just a little bit of background on monarchs and regals before we get into the survey. So the monarch life cycle starts out as a teeny tiny egg laid on some milkweed. They go through molts or instars, getting bigger each time. After their fifth instar, they will jay up, form a chrysalis, and then hopefully emerge as a fully formed adult monarch butterfly. This cycle repeats 3 to 5 times depending on how far north they travel. We're probably in the 3 to 4 range here in Nebraska. Come fall, the monarchs will travel down to overwintering grounds in Mexico, where they will overwinter. They'll go into reproductive diapause and pretty much shut down every non-essential function and wait out the winter, and then they will start migrating north in March or so and make the journey again. So this generational journey takes 3 to 5 generations, so none of the butterflies that went south have went south multiple times, and it's not their children, it's probably not their grandchildren, it's probably at least their great-grandchildren that are the ones that are making that journey. So it's all in their DNA and brain somewhere how to make that journey, which is pretty crazy. The other species we're interested in is the Regal Fritillary. Very similar life cycle in that they start as an egg, but they then eat their egg in the fall and eat nothing else through the winter. Once spring comes, they will find violets, go through 6 instars, unlike the normal 5 for most caterpillars, form a chrysalis, and then emerge as adults in the summer. They usually come out around June 15th, but Mark was saying he might have saw one yesterday, so they might be out early. It's looking pretty early this season, so we'll see what the season brings. Oops. You are able to tell males and females apart for monarchs and regal fritillaries. Monarchs have this little raised dot on their hind wings. You can kind of see it from the outside, but you'll see it much clearer on the inside. Their veins are also considerably thinner than the relatively thick veins of the females. The females also lack the spot that the males have right there. As for regal fritillaries, the males have orange spots along their hind wings, whereas the females have white spots at the outer edge of their hind wings. There are a bunch of fritillaries out there to confuse the regals with, but none of those have the very dark hind wings that the regal fritillaries have. They're also probably about the biggest fritillary out there, so relatively easy to tell apart from the other fritillaries. Yep, here's just a picture of them out in the wild. So for my surveys, we have some training options if you would like to take part. The first is going to be at Schramm State Park June 1st from 10 to 2 p.m. And then there's always a Zoom training that you can find on YouTube, and we can get links out later. Why is this rolling ahead without me? Well, here are the sites that we have for the survey, kind of laid out generally where they are. I don't let people pick exactly where they go, because everybody lives in Lincoln and Omaha, and if I just let you pick Lincoln and Omaha, then nobody's going to come down to K and E, where most of my sites are. So I have you kind of pick areas that you're willing to drive to, and then I'll assign sites based on how where you're willing to drive. I do ask that participants practice estimating distances before they go out. This is a visual distance estimation survey. So we practice estimating distances and angles. We use that to get some trig done on the back end, and that gives us better stats on population numbers for monarchs and regal fritillaries. So we do need to be able to estimate distances out to a distance of at least 30 meters, but you can practice that as many times as it takes to kind of get honed in. Here is what the data sheet looks like. So it's relatively straightforward butterfly side of the sheet. We're just looking at what species did you find, that's monarch or regal. If you can figure out which sex it was, that's great. It's not always easy as it flies right across your face. We look at what it's doing. Is it eating? Is it flying? You're usually flying, but sometimes you get an interesting behavior. What nectaring plants is it on if that's available? And then we want the detection distance in meters and the detection angle. And again, that lets us do the trig on the back end. So that's a 200-meter walk out, looking for butterflies on each side. On the way back, we're looking at vegetation and habitat metrics. So we're looking for all of the actively blooming plants in the area. What are the butterflies able to feed on? Trying to get an idea of what they might be interested in there. We're also looking at some habitat variables, what kind of cover we have, along with any management that might be going on in the property. And we're always looking for milkweed on the property. It doesn't have to be blooming or non-blooming. Milkweed is all the same to the caterpillars who are the ones that we're worried about there. Here are the results over the last 4 years of the survey. I like to show this to show that there's no good, perfect site. The sites kind of bounce around on how many butterflies you're seeing at each place. So one year you might have a really great one and then you don't see any butterflies at all at it. So we're hoping to tease apart this data and see if we can start figuring out what makes a good site. Here are our community science stats over the last 4 years. I'm happy to see that we're keep increasing our community science numbers over the last 4 years. Our total transects went down a little bit, but I also didn't do quite as many last year. I was working on a different project a little more heavily than I planned, so my transects went down, but we're hovering in the 350-ish range, which is a pretty good amount of transects to be getting. But I would love to see more of you come out and help support this project. So we'd love to see more people out. If you by chance live out west, you can pick your own sites out here. I have some sites already accounted for in 3, 5, 10, and 15, but if there's a place out in the Panhandle, it's just jumping on me. If there's a place out in the Panhandle or central Nebraska that you would find that you would want to make your own transects, you can fully place those wherever it is you want them to go. And with that, I want you to survey kind of wherever you want. If you want to help in the east, we would love that help. That's kind of the more statistically useful data, but we are kind of using these western sites as sort of canary in the coal mine type sites if we have a bunch of monarchs and regals here year to year, and then we start seeing them go away, we might know something in the areas going awry.
You only look for those two kinds of butterflies then?
Yep, for this survey, we are only looking for monarchs and regal fritillaries, but we do have another survey coming up that is all the butterflies in the state. So that one's brand new, and we'll get to that in just a few minutes. I have the wrong time here. So the time is now 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Schramm Outdoor Education Center. So not 1 to 5, it is 10 to 2. And there is the YouTube training that you can watch at your own pace. You can watch it a video at a time, once a day, whatever works for you. That's my primary duty at Game and Parks, but I do a lot more than just the one. So we're going to go into a whole bunch of other things that I've helped with, or at least trying to get out into the world a little more. Our first one, and probably my favorite, is the Bumblebee Atlas. They used to have a really nice looking map on their website, and this one's not as nice as it used to be, but the good news is they're really expanding. Colorado, Utah, Wyoming are new this year. They're finally getting the Iowa survey up and running. Nebraska, this is the 6th year for the Nebraska Atlas, so we're hoping to get good data out of that for the coming season. The Bumblebee Atlases are basically all the same. You go out for 45 minutes, walk wherever you think there's going to be butterflies. That's usually somewhere with flowers. Go out and net as many species as you can find. Come back to your truck, you put them on ice. That knocks them out for about 5 minutes or so. And then you can take them out, manipulate them with your hand, get photos, and hopefully ID them to species. So long as you take good photos, it doesn't matter if you can ID them, the experts at the Xerces Society will be able to ID them for you. So the photos are really the important part of this survey. So these are not counts. 1, 2, 4, 6, 8 are grid cell numbers. Those don't mean what you probably think they mean. Over here is the important bit. So number of surveys completed. We've been able to hit every grid cell in the state at least once, so that's great. But we would like to start filling in some of the more western areas a little better if we can. Again, everybody lives over here and everybody surveys over here. So if you are out in the West and you've done the trainings, we would love to get some more Western surveys accomplished this year. Slightly different. Again, the numbers are the same. They don't mean anything, but the shading is what's important. So again, in the east, we've got pretty good idea of what bumblebees we're seeing, but we could really use help out in the west and central if you are so inclined. So I talked about taking the pictures. Those pictures all get uploaded to Bumblebee Watch, which is this app. You can also use it on the computer. I prefer to do the computer uploads because I usually have a whole bunch and I try and do them all at once. But it's a nice little website. It gives you your like lifetime list of bumblebees that you've seen, which is kind of a nice feature that I think birders can probably appreciate. For each bumblebee, we usually take the pictures on a gridded data sheet. That just helps us get an idea of how big the bumblebee is. If you don't have anything for scale, it can be difficult to tell some of these species apart based on just their markings. Especially trying to tell queens from females apart can get pretty dicey pretty quick. But you can add up to, I think it's 5 photos. I don't fully remember. It's either 4 or 5 photos to Bumblebee Watch. That way you can get a head picture, a back, and a side picture. And gives you a couple extras in case you have something else you want to really report on. But It tells you what species you've found it on. You can put in your guess for the species. The nice thing is the Xerces experts will come in and tell you what species you got and confirm or change your ID to be the right thing. So that's the driving power of this survey, is we're kind of the foot soldiers doing the grunt work to get the experts all this great data. So it is a great project. It's probably my favorite project, even above the one that's mine to run. Next is Monarch Watch. Has anybody here tagged for Monarch Watch in the past? Oh, you guys will love it. You were saying Mercy's going to go out and do that, so.
She's gonna give that away as one of the prizes,
Oh.
prize of the drawing.
Okay.
Tour of the Wild.
Yeah.
Meet with her.
So I would encourage you just to get your own Monarch tags, especially if you've got kids or grandkids that are good at swinging a net. It is a very simple survey. It is literally just catch a butterfly, put a sticker on its wing, and let it go. That's it. I say that's it. Catching a butterfly is more difficult than you might think. It is easy to get humbled holding a butterfly net. So, yeah, grandkids are great to send out in the yard and catch for you, and you can help them put the stickers on the butterflies. It's just a sticker. It's about like half the size of an Apple sticker, and this is the full data sheet here. So, tag code, month, day, year, male, female, was it reared or did you catch it wild? And then city, state, zip, and US, and that's it. So very simple program. Another one of my favorites. This is only during the fall migration of the monarch, so that starts up roughly at the start of September for us. Things are being pretty early this year, so I don't know if that'll continue through the fall, if the monarchs will start migrating a little early. But usually peak for Lincoln is about mid-September. But you can still catch them into the start of October. It just kind of depends what the migration's doing each year. Each year I think I'm going to figure out how migration works, and each year I'm very wrong. So it's just kind of whatever you get for migration.
So you want an older butterfly, I mean, not the ones that are hatching out in August then?
So these are the ones that are hatching out in August that will be traveling south. They will, a typical monarch through the summer will live 6 to 8 weeks, but a monarch that hatches out in August or September will live 6 to 8 months as it goes down to Mexico, overwinters, and then flies up back to hopefully Texas or so, reproduces and dies there, and then the next generation will move north, and we repeat that cycle over again. So yeah, if you're seeing really, really beat up butterflies, I usually don't tag them for Monarch Watch, but I will work with them for Project Monarch Health. This is separate from Monarch Watch, but the protocol is very similar. Once you have a butterfly in hand, all you need to do is take a, this is actually just a envelope seal, like envelope seal sticker. Place it on the butterfly's abdomen, pull it away. That pulls off some of the scales on the butterfly. And the part that I skipped over was that these little things here, in between the scales and on the scales, are actually protozoan parasites that affect the monarch throughout their whole life cycle. It's called, well, the short name is OE, and I can't remember how to say the full scientific name because it's real long. These are little tiny protozoan parasites that affect the monarch throughout the whole life cycle. So when you pull the scales off, you also pull off some of those parasites if they have them. You are able to look at these under a microscope yourself, or you can send it off to a lab. It's Georgia, I think it's just Georgia University, but I could be wrong on that. They run Project Monarch Health and will analyze things for you and send you the data back. So I'm pretty much the only person in Nebraska that does this project, so I would love to see more people get involved with this, especially if you already have the butterflies in hand for project or for Monarch Watch. It's another 5 seconds to do Project Monarch Health, and they could really use Nebraska data.
It doesn't kill the butterfly?
Nope, it doesn't kill the butterfly. Yeah, it's just a handful of scales. Butterflies are always losing scales throughout their whole life, especially in September. You'll start to see really, really beat up, worn down monarchs where their wings become less orange and more translucent. You can almost see through some of them. The healthier ones have more scales, but taking off this number of scales shouldn't be detrimental to them, especially if they are the really beat up ones that aren't going to make it anyway. They're probably July or early August generation that's just trying to pump out as many eggs as they can before the freeze comes and they're not able to be part of the population anymore. I should point out that this project is completely free. They will send you all of the things that you need to do this project. Monarch Watch is a paid for community science project. You have to pay to get their stickers. It's something like $15 for your first sheet, and then it gets progressively cheaper down to, I want to say it's like $160 for a set of 500. So if you want to go real crazy, you can do that. I usually get around 300, but I haven't found a hot spot around Lincoln in a few years, so I'm really looking for that, and maybe we can get our numbers up for this year. This data sheet, also extremely simple. When did you collect it? Is it an adult? I just do the adults, but you can do any stage of the monarch life cycle. The date you sampled it, some people will keep them overnight. I just catch and release right there on site. Male, female, and then I usually write in my Monarch Watch tag number into the notes. And if it's really faded or something, I'll add faded adult or something like that. But about as simple a data sheet as you can hope for. Next is iNaturalist. How many iNaturalist users do we have here? Oh, you guys will love this one too. It is as easy as see something, say something. So if you take a picture of some sort of critter or plant, you can upload it with your phone straight to iNaturalist. iNaturalist will give you a guess as to what the AI thinks it is for a species, and then other people will come in and tell you what they think it is, improving the AI's guess or your guess, and hopefully getting you to high quality data or research grade looks at your critter. So you can add an observation either by phone or on the computer. If you have a whole bunch of photos you want to get up, you can actually put 20 photos of a single thing onto iNaturalist as a single observation, so you can go nuts. Once you have that up there, you can see what other people have posted. So here's just a map of where people have seen monarchs on iNaturalist in Nebraska. Back in 2018, I think I screenshotted this. So yeah, it's nice. It helps you identify things relatively quickly. The AI is only getting better. It gets you pretty good at IDs. We've been out with Jerry Steinauer in the field a little bit and given him a plant. He's like, I'm not quite sure what this is. And he's put it into iNaturalist and it spits out a guess. And he's like, oh yeah, that is what this is. So it's not perfect on plants by any means, and it's not perfect for animals either, but it'll usually get you close, and the people on there will get you even closer 95% of the time.
Is that free also?
Yep, I think everything I have to talk about, except for Monarch Watch, is completely free. But we'll look at it again. I got a finishing slide that we'll go over, but I think everything but Monarch Watch is free. Yep, you could download this while I'm talking if you wanted. It's that easy. There are projects that you can join, so I'm not sure what bird projects there are, but I'm sure there's quite a few out there. I know that you guys usually use, what's the bird app? eBird, yeah. I don't think iNaturalist is quite as good for birds as eBird is. So if you're using eBird already for your birds, probably just stay there. But for pretty much anything else, I would encourage you to look at iNaturalist. There are projects you can join, like Nebraska's Big Butterfly Count, which is a brand new community science project that had its training Saturday, like the 4th, a couple days ago. So, and I think, nope, that's not the next one. The next one's the Firefly Atlas. It is very similar to the Bumblebee Atlas in that you go out and you're looking for fireflies. This is another Xerces run project. It used to be run by University of Massachusetts, I think. But Xerces has taken it over and are trying to get more information on our fireflies. You might look at this map and go, oh good, we don't have any threatened species of fireflies in Nebraska. But then we look at this map and we go, oh, we don't, data deficient species in Nebraska is somewhere between 1 and 19. We have about 10 species of fireflies, so we don't know anything about our fireflies here in Nebraska. So yeah, if you are at all interested in learning about fireflies, I haven't looked at what the new protocol is, but the old protocol was go out, stand in your yard for 10 minutes, and count fireflies that you see flashing. And that's it. So very simple protocol. I assume it's pretty close to that, again, for the Xerces Society run. And if you need more help finding out where this is and getting started, let me know. Next is Journey North. This is another See Something, Say Something website. They've got different things you can report. We can do bald eagles, we can do monarchs, the first egg, the first adults. If you see a gray whale in Nebraska, I would love to know about it. But yeah, you just make an account and you post pictures here and say when's the first time you saw these things for the year. So another pretty easy community science project. Now we've got Nebraska's Big Butterfly Count. This is the brainchild of master naturalist, probably some of you know Jo Langaby. She has been doing counts of a very similar type out at Fontenelle since 2000. Oh, you'd think I'd remember. I think it was 2018 she started to formalize it. She's been walking the trails, I think, since 2014. She's a self-taught butterfly expert at this point. One of our top butterfly experts in the state. It is a pretty simple survey. You just walk trails wherever you want to go and count the butterflies that are there. We are asking you to get them to species if you can, which is where the trainings come in. So we just had our first and only training for this year, Saturday, but we will be having more trainings in following years. This first one was for central and eastern Nebraska. We'll do that again. Those species are pretty similar. It only adds a handful of extras to cover both at once. And then we'll have a whole separate training for western species if that's something you're interested out there. Yeah, the protocol is literally just go out, walk, and count every butterfly that you see. That's about it. So we're pretty data deficient on most of our butterfly species in the state. I've focused a lot of time on monarchs and regal fritillaries, and that's most of where our effort has been placed for quite a while. That said, Neil Dankert has made a wonderful website, nebraskalepidoptera.com. If you guys haven't checked this one out yet, I would encourage you to do so. It is best from a computer and not your phone. You can use it from your phone, but you need to have a better idea of what the butterfly is. The pictures on the side don't show up as well, so you need to have a decent idea of what your butterfly is. You can't just like look it up and guess from the pictures as easily. But it has all 213 butterflies now in the state. We've also added 200-ish moths, the underwings and the sphinx moths. So there's pictures of all those. There's the moth list, which is 1,300 plus species of moths. So it's a great website. I'd highly encourage you to check it out, nebraskalepidoptera.com. And that is it for the pollinator projects that I have here. If you want to snap a picture of that, you're welcome to. I can also send this kind of link to you in an email if that's easier, but that's mostly it for our pollinator ones. Oh, we got pictures going, great. But it's not just pollinators in Nebraska as much as I think that's what all the projects should be about. We do have some other projects out there too, like our wild turkey brood survey. They run July to August. I always include these data sheets with my volunteers for the Monarch and Regal survey because, again, it's super simple. Date, the county you saw them in, the number of hens, poults, males, unknowns, and then have you seen this group before? That's the whole sheet. I guess you got your name, city, and email. So, yeah, it really is that easy. So if you're out and about and you see some turkeys, just let us know. That goes to Luke Meduna at Game and Parks. So
why are they doing that, Cody?
this is part of the way to just look at our turkey numbers each year. Yeah, I'm not super involved in it. I just kind of throw the word out for Luke each year.
I
but
filled it out a couple times, but
yeah.
I'm just wondering if they're worried about numbers or...
I don't think we're worried about numbers. It's just a way to keep track of numbers and get some long-term data and make sure we're not over or under harvesting any given couple years.
I did the Christmas bird count, sending in all the data for 10 years. And it wasn't until my last year of doing it that we actually got a wild turkey in the Lincoln Circle. So they're relatively recent, I suppose, repopulation in the Lincoln area. And now I see them pretty often.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, I probably stopped doing it 8 years ago, so.
I was just out with Joe Langby at Fontenelle, and we saw 4 sets of turkeys out there at Fontenelle Forest. So, yep, they're out there. Please let us know when you see them. Next is NA Bat. We have a NA Bat coordinator in Nebraska, and he sent me these slides. North American bats are currently in an unprecedented decline. There's white nose syndrome, along with other threats that have killed just a boatload of bats over the last 10, 15 years or so. And these numbers just keep going up. And white nose has recently been found in Nebraska. So I think that was 2 or 3 years ago, but I'd have to fact check that. So now we're looking for citizen scientists to assist with Nebraska's NA bat monitoring program. We're looking to gather information on Nebraska bat populations, and that information will be a crucial conservation tool. So responsibilities for volunteers, you'll be trained on how to use these detectors. This was actually my first paid job out of undergrad, was to put up these detectors across the state. They're very easy to set up. You put them on a pole, and you push a button, they just work. So I'm sure the training will be a little more than that. I haven't done it for about 7, 8 years now, but very, very simple field work if you're looking to do that kind of thing.
What does it do? Does it
Oh yeah,
record the sound?
so these detectors don't necessarily detect sound. They are detecting like pitch and frequency of bat calls. So there's no audio file. It is like dots on a graph of pitch over time. And those different pitches and ups and downs in the calls tell you what bat species you're working with. So I want to say it's 13 bats in the state, but it's been a little while since I've done bat work. Sadly, we don't have any pollinating bats here in Nebraska. They're all pollinator eaters, so I haven't got to work with bats for a little while. But yeah, I think this would be a fun survey you can take part in. There is also real-time data collection. You can get a car-mounted device, and you drive, I want to say it's like drive 15 mile an hour for 45 minutes. Oh, I probably shouldn't throw those out on the internet, but you drive a speed for an amount of time, relatively slowly, with the bat detector mounted on your car, trying to pick up different bats across the area. I think it's roughly dusk, but I don't actually know.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Late night.
We are looking for help in some of these areas. We've got a couple up by Norfolk that I'm not sure if they've been filled yet. Well, I guess June 2nd, we need some help in the Columbus area, and a few more relatively close to Lincoln. So if that's something you're interested in, please do reach out to Derek Kruger. Yeah, he would love to have your help. Got some pictures going on, great. And then I think our last one is one that you've probably heard of. Nebraska's Birding Bowl. It's going on right now. If you're not signed up, I'd encourage you to sign up. There's prizes and just good community kind of togetherness, getting all your birds in together. So yeah, I would highly encourage you to sign up for the Birding Bowl if you haven't. And I think,
Cody,
yep,
last year, one of our Wachiska members, Ruthie Stearns, won the Birding Bowl and got $1,000.
yeah, there's like real prizes for doing this. So I think it was to the Nebraska Bird Habitat Store, if that's right. World, yeah. So good prizes. You're probably out doing this anyway, so get in and see if you can win the drawing. There's different levels. I think there's 4 different levels for like beginning birder and then super bird nerd or something. I don't know. This, again, not really my project, but I did want to especially highlight it for this group, especially since it's going on right now. So get signed up. And with that, I will take any questions you guys have on any of this or other community science projects you've heard of. Happy to share what I can.
Well, thank you, Cody. We've got microphones, so when you ask a question, just hold your hand up and I'll give you a microphone so we can get the folks at home can hear you.
Well, I want to tell you about my incident with the crow bringing a dead bat during the daytime.
Oh.
It was like in April, but you could tell that there was some fur left on part of its head, but you could see all he had was the wings, and he had eaten it inside out. The crow had brought it to my bird bath. So are they out and about in the daytime? How could he find a bat?
I mean, bats will roost like just on the outside of a tree, or on walls and rock walls and
that's
stuff.
how he probably found it.
He could have found it there. Maybe poke his head in a cavity in a dead or dying tree and saw it there. So I'm sure they overlap. I've never heard of one getting killed by a crow, but yeah, Proceed mean.
We had a live bat during the other day in front of the office, and it was out there, and I went back out later, and it had died, but it was down on the ground. I should have called the Game and Parks guys to see, but they will be during the day hanging out. I suppose a crow would spot one and decide to make a meal of it. Any questions over here? Here we go.
Not a question,
Oh.
but, well, yeah.
You want the mic? Okay.
I want the mic. I want the mic, please. No, it's just, remember Ross Scott told us to remind Cody that Wildcat Prairie, I don't know if you've surveyed down there for monarchs and
oh, yeah,
fritillaries? Okay. The prairies this year, or the violets are now blooming profusely, so there should be a lot of regals
Good. I
to
hope
survey
so.
there. Yep. And the other thing is, on the early monarchs, I've already seen 2 of them down on our farm in Johnson County,
Yeah.
which I thought was extremely early.
It's a little early.
I
Not
saw one today.
I think I saw one.
Yeah.
Joe Langeby saw one right at the start of the month. So on, let's see if it'll go back for me. Cool. Where is it? This one on Journey North. You can look at sightings people have had, and Lincoln Omaha area has about 6 or 7 reported sightings already. So they're out. They're not in huge numbers yet, but yeah, we're gonna start seeing them a little more. And everything's just early this year, so we'll see. We'll see.
When does the regals come out then?
Regal fritillaries will usually emerge. The males usually come out first, about June 15th, which is when our survey starts, and then the females will usually come out about the 1st of July, but they might already be out now. So
Where do they do they winter over here?
they will overwinter as larvae, so they'll eat their egg in the fall, crawl into the leaf litter, and they'll just hang out all winter. Then they'll emerge, eat violets until they're ready to form their chrysalis, and then stay there for a couple weeks or so, and then emerge as butterflies roughly mid-June.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Hey, what do you know about giant swallowtail butterflies? I assume they're pretty rare. I think I've only seen one in my yard over the years.
I don't know a ton about giant swallowtails, but if just random butterfly knowledge is something you're looking for, I would encourage you to check out nebraskalepidoptera.com. It's just chock full of great information. Neil would probably answer questions for you, and Joe Langeby would probably also answer some questions, but yeah, I just don't know a ton about it.
I'm guessing they may be the largest butterfly in Nebraska.
I think so. I think they're bigger than two-tailed swallowtails, but yeah, one of those swallowtails is the biggest.
They're bigger than the blacks.
Yeah, blacks I think are relatively small for the swallowtails, but I might be, again, I don't know a ton about most things outside of monarchs and regals.
There's been quite a bit of publicity about the timbered areas in Mexico, which provided roosting sites for monarchs. What's the status of that situation?
Not great. So monarchs will overwinter in the Oyamel firs down in, not going to remember the mountain range, but they have a specific mountain range that they overwinter in each year. They go to the same trees. There's about 6 or 7 groups of them. Those trees, to my knowledge, have not been hit, but the trees directly adjacent to the overwintering areas have been. Some just clear cut forested. A lot of that's for avocado farming. The locals are starting to figure out that ecotourism is a pretty viable source of income, so a lot more protection has went into place. But it's been a little politically volatile down there. 2 years ago, it took a long time to get our overwintering numbers back at the start of 23, so not great. I don't think it's as bad as it could be, but yeah, we could definitely see improvement for just the whole climate down there, not counting climate change and things like that. So, yeah.
Couple things. Are you acquainted with the status of the Salt Creek Tiger Beetle project?
Kind of, not a ton.
Oh, I was involved with it when I was with the Master Naturalist. It was out there on Arbor Lake, north of Arbor Road, and about 28th, 30th, somewhere. And there was a multi-agency project including also the Children's Zoo and Henry Doorly for nurturing these and reintroducing them. And I hadn't heard anything about it in the news lately, and I was wondering how it's going, or is it dropped, or?
It is still going. I know that there's a release planned very soon for that, but now's kind of my busy ramp-up season, and I have to stick with the pollinators, and I haven't been able to branch out into that project so much. That's run by our zoologist, Sean Dunn, at Game and Parks, at least on the Game and Parks side. I'm not sure who at Henry Dorley and the Children's Zoo is their leads, but yeah, if you have questions, you could ask Sean Dunn. But yeah, I know that it's happening. I know that we're still working on Salt Creek Tiger Beetle, but I haven't really been able to find time to get out on that project, although I'd really like to.
Bruce, the city did announce yesterday that they acquired about 80 or 90 acres right out there at North 27th and Arbor Lake Road, that tract right across from Arbor Lake. And they're going to turn part of it into a park in the future, but they're going to keep part of it along the drainage, intact as habitat. But the city in Solidago just announced yesterday or the day before that they acquired that tract.
Also, did you see any trends during COVID when people were not working? Were they able to assist you more with citizen science, or did the insects get a break on their breeding and propagation?
That's a really interesting question that I wish I was on before the start of COVID. So I came on in 2019, right after the season ended, and I was planning, we revamped the project and kind of redid the protocols, and then I was actually planning in-person trainings for May and June of 2020, and then had to pivot real fast when things didn't open up again. So my first 2 years were only virtual trainings, and then the last 2 years have been in person, and we'll have an in-person one this year with the one of our last Zoom trainings recorded and up on YouTube. So I know that we still get people that do watch the recorded one each year, and then we do get new people that show up to in-person trainings too. So I wish I had better numbers for you, but I missed it by that much.
And then just a final note on when I use iNaturalist, I keep forgetting, like if I'm in my backyard, to preserve my privacy on that setting before you submit your observation. There's like 3 different settings. One is public, and there's another one, I forget what it's called, and then there's private, if you didn't want, people knowing where you are.
Yep, there's a public, so just anybody knows the exact GPS of where you took that picture. I think it's obscured, so you just get a big circle on the map of, it's in here somewhere. And then I think private is just fully obscured. I don't know if anybody other than iNaturalist and you can get that information. I might be wrong on that. If that's something you're worried about, I would double check before you download and start using the app pretty heavily.
So when you put bees on ice, how long do you, can you kill them doing that, or do you just do it for a little bit of time, or?
You probably could kill them. A pretty normal technique to anesthetize insects is to stick them in the freezer for a couple days. Sometimes that's still not long enough to knock some of the more hardy ones off. But you can kill a small bee in only a few minutes in the freezer. Bumblebees are pretty hardy. They actually have the ability to generate a little bit of their own body heat. They can detach their flight muscles from their wings and just shiver. And they can make a little bit of heat themselves. That's actually how they will shake pollen off of tomatoes. It's called buzz pollination or sonication. And they like literally grab onto the tomato and they'll just shake it off. And yeah, so if you hear bumblebees in your garden, that's probably what they're up to. But to answer your question, it takes about 5 or so minutes before a bumblebee will start to go to sleep. And then I only ever leave them in for maybe a half hour to an hour if I've got a whole bunch that I'm trying to work through. And they're all, I don't think I've had a single bee. Yeah, I think I've done 500 plus bees, and I don't think I've had a single one that's been harmed from going in the cooler. You do keep them in little vials. Centrifuge tubes work really well. I think they're 50 milliliters, and those work really well. You can stick them down in the ice. It is nice to have crushed ice and not just like ice packs. It helps drop the temperature a little quicker, so you're not waiting for an hour for them to fall asleep. But yeah.
I was going to say, I worked on the bee project, and it really, when I had crushed ice in a cooler, would take only 5 minutes.
Some won't go to sleep. They'll just hang out for 15 minutes and you'd be like, just go to sleep for the last one.
Depends on the bee.
It's often the bigger queens will fight you a little more, but yeah.
Can you ID bees from photographs just when they're on a flower? I take a lot of pictures of bees because I think they're interesting.
Yeah, you can, if you get a good enough shot at them, like if you can get their back and you can get their wings open especially, you can usually ID them on the flower. Some, not so much, it depends on the species, but I'd say probably at least half. If you've got a decent just back picture, you should be able to ID them. And then the more pictures you take, the higher your percentage goes up pretty quickly.
How many species of bumblebees would you run into? Oh, there's your whole
So
picture.
this is every bumblebee that we think might be in the state. I think the numbers are at 14 seen in the last, since the survey started 5 years ago. There's a couple more that are nest parasites that are pretty tough to find at the best of time. So our top number for the state we think is 20. We've for sure seen, I want to say 14. We can probably see up to 18 or 19. A couple might not be here anymore.
Show us that, I think it's impatiens, and that's the only one that I ever see in my yard.
Sure.
Wait.
These two are
Now,
two
wait a
most
minute.
common ones.
I can't see what you're saying.
Where is it?
Top way
Oh.
up here.
Oh,
there,
okay,
okay.
got it.
So Bombus impatiens is the common eastern bumblebee. It's probably the most common bee we have here in Lincoln, Omaha. Gets a little dicey because Bombus cruciacolis, the brown-belted bumblebee, is also extremely common. Other pretty common ones in Lincoln are Pennsylvanicus in the top right corner. Also pretty common throughout the state, although it will likely be up for federal listing here in the next couple years.
How about the orchard bee? That's a bumblebee.
Orchard bees are not bumblebees. They are native bees, but not one of our bumblebees.
So we don't have to actually know. We could take pictures and send them in, and
Yep.
they figure out what it is if we don't know.
But
As
you
long as
guys
you can
get
get
this
the-
off of the internet. It is so fun. I've laminated it.
Yeah.
I take it out in the garden and
You
I
can-
look.
Print this. This is up there. They want you to print it. Please print it. It is a great resource. Bumblebees of North America is also a very good book. It is the bumblebee book for North America, and it's very good. It's got range maps for all the species. It's got the different color morphs because, let's see, you've got different, like here the lemon cuckoo's got a couple different color morphs. There's at least one more, maybe not. They might have cleaned this up. They keep improving this picture every year, so the atlas started off pretty good and it's only getting better.
Cody, I know Mark is getting to the last question. I want to know if you have a list. How many species have you seen
Of
bumblebees?
bumblebees, I
Yes.
think I'm up to 5, and they're relatively common. I've got Bombus griscicollis, brown-belted, common eastern. I think I've got a 2-spot. I know I've got southern plains and Pennsylvanicus. I've got more than I thought. Black and gold, I've got at least one of those. I think I've got a yellow. I'd have to go back and look there. And I might have a half black from when I went out west just the one time, but I think last summer I only caught the 4, the top 2 American and southern plains.
What's the red? I can't read it.
The red here is species of greatest conservation need.
Okay,
They're species in the Natural Legacy Plan.
okay.
Okay, we have one more question. Tim will let you have the last question.
I wonder if you could tell us how important bumblebees are compared to some of the other pollinators.
They're some of the best pollinators, like for actually moving the pollen and doing the pollination. They're some of the most efficient. I want to say they're better than honeybees. I haven't looked at like the tier list of who's better at moving pollen. There are some other native bees I know that are better than bumblebees, but they're big, so they can move a lot of pollen at once.
And they can come out with the weather.
And they can,
If it's cold, they'll be out.
yeah, they're mildly warm-blooded. They can warm themselves up a little bit. So you actually find more bumblebees kind of the cooler it gets, which is the opposite of basically all the other bees. You find more bees the drier and warmer it gets, but bumblebees are kind of the opposite. They like a lot more of the montane areas and will tolerate cold a lot better than a lot of other bees. So kind of depends on the area, kind of depends on the species you're looking at, but compared with butterflies and moths, much better pollinators on average.
You need to take
bumblebees.
time and watch a bumblebee go around a flower. It is, I mean, you don't have to do your yard work or any of that. You need to sit and watch it. They are fascinating to watch.
And some people would say a bee shouldn't even be able to fly, the big bumblebees, you know, the physics there are incredible, the aerodynamics. Well, thank you, Cody. Thank Cody for coming tonight. And we do have some cookies out here for you. We do have a cookie sign-up sheet now, so if you're interested in signing up for a future meeting to bring cookies, there's a sign-up sheet. And don't forget your climate change sign, Vote for Climate. So those are out there too. So thanks everyone for coming tonight.
All they do is send their
should.
Well, but so one of the girls but they're they agitate them, that's why they get stopped. I know, but they're more, it's the young jackets that's more that than it is. And they don't even have your hide there, so why would you be afraid? Because they're not protecting anything. If you were at their